Do you know the first word that God ever speaks is in the Bible is fiat?
Fiat lux.
Yeah. Let there be, I decree light.
Yeah.
And it's a shame what it's done to us because, and I can show over the years, you can look back on history, you can look at the 19th century in particular, when the world was on both bimetallic or gold standard, one of the most productive times in human history. Think about what we developed then. We developed, telegraph, the wireless telegraph. We put a telegraph across the Atlantic Ocean, connected Europe and England here. We, built railroads all over the country, transcontinental railroad, battleships, Bessemer steel process. So we built skyscrapers, elevators. I mean, in medicine, x-rays, germ theory. First time we came up with antibiotics, dynamite. The list is endless, and it was all in a time when we had sound money.
Yeah.
And when people hear me say sound money, all I'm talking about is money that cannot be easily debased or printed. It's based on something, either in species, either receiving gold or silver or something, hard money. So
yeah, it's something that the free market chooses, and the free market chooses something that's hard to produce because that's good at preserving purchasing power over time. And that serves as a really firm foundation on which to have all these 0 to 1 innovations, to use the Peter Thiel terminology, right? Where nothing existed, you create something. And then there's the 1 to many innovations, which is like, telegraph. Creating the telegraph was the 0 to 1. And then creating the telephone, the internet, all the things that are subsequent to that are the 1 to many, basically. They're improvements on the idea of telecommunications, but the original 0 to 1 was the telegraph, basically. And so, yeah, it's easy. Like I think this makes the Bitcoin narrative a little bit tricky because we say, hey, look, when you're not on a sound money foundation, you don't get a lot of technological innovation. And people are like, what are you talking about? We've got internet and AI and blah, 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 like all this stuff. But it's like, those aren't fundamental. I mean, I guess AI, you could argue, is perhaps a fundamental change. I'm not well versed enough to say whether that's an extension of databases or not. Anyways, we don't tend to see a lot of these 0 to 1 innovations in the fiat period. And this is all beautifully outlined in Safeteen's book, The Bitcoin Standard, right? But in La Belle Epoque, or the Gilded Age, we saw a lot of these 0 to 1 innovations. We saw a lot of cultural flourishing. We saw a lot of art, right? A lot of really high quality art produced.
Tremendous architecture too.
Yeah.
And the thing is also to think about is the fact that those periods of time that I'm talking about were not inflationary. If you look at the history of the inflation over that period, you'll see that it spikes for 2 periods in that 19th century, 1812, War of 1812, and then the Civil War. And of course, why? They had to, war. The thing is, and if you look at the history of our country, paper money will always return to its intrinsic value, zero. And Voltaire said that. And you know that the founding fathers of this country were fans of Voltaire and had. I know Benjamin Franklin met him. Thomas Jefferson was, a huge fan of his, and they were afraid of these fiat currencies because they had seen what happened. What they needed to fight a war. So what did they do? They printed money.
Of course. And
the Continental was worthless. And so they had experience with this, but nonetheless, Hamilton pushed through the first central bank of this country in 1791. And then it lasted for 11 years, and it was Jefferson and Madison, and said, we've had enough of this. But the thing is, the next year, after they got rid of it, what happened? The War of 1812. And so they're going, uh-oh, we need a lot of money. And they started printing again. But what I'm trying to say is, if you look at the money after that, it deflates. It goes down and down and down. And we're producing all these things in our world. I mean, we are so productive with deflationary money. And if you look at George Selgin's work studying Scotland and free banking, which we had in that period, it was stable, non-inflationary, less crisis management. It didn't go from guardrail to guardrail like the Fed.
Right. No systemic risk, really, right? Because it's very decentralized.
For 100 years. And so it worked. So, these people that somehow, these Keynesians that think we need to have some kind of an inflationary component to our money, I mean, they're just flat ass wrong.
Yeah.
And my kids and everybody, we're all paying the price for this world we live in, and we're consuming shit at an incredible rate. We need like 6 planets to fuel the future on inflation.
Yeah. Forget multivitamins and other supplements. Animal organs are the most nutrient-dense foods on the planet. You can get 100 times more nutrients from organs than you can from muscle meats. But the problem with eating organs is that they are difficult to find in stores, they are difficult to prepare, and even when they are prepared well, they often don't taste great. Thankfully, Heart and Soil Supplements has made consuming organ meats so much easier by providing powderized organs in capsule form. Organ meats include everything your body needs to thrive: vitamins, minerals, peptides, proteins, and growth factors. This is why organ meats were the most prized foods for our ancestors. Fortunately for us, Heart and Soil makes these treasured foods easily accessible. So go to heartandsoil.co today and use discount code BREEDLOVE to get started on your journey to optimal health and vitality. Again, that's heartandsoil.co, discount code BREEDLOVE. Have you ever wanted to start a business in the Bitcoin space? If so, then the Wolf Startup Accelerator could be for you. Wolf is the first startup accelerator dedicated exclusively to businesses developing in the Bitcoin Lightning Network. 4 times each year, Wolf brings teams from around the world to New York City to work with like-minded entrepreneurs, pushing the boundaries of what's possible with Bitcoin and Lightning. The program is designed to help early-stage companies achieve product-market fit, develop their brand, secure early-stage funding, and grow businesses that fuel the global adoption of Bitcoin. Go to wolfnyc.com to learn more or apply today. Again, that's Wolf, WOLFNYC.com. I've heard this quote before, it's coming to mind now. The job of the artist is to make the revolution irresistible. And so this idea of using art as like a medium of expression for speaking truth to power, right? That we oftentimes can't even say, you can't tell the emperor he has no clothes, perhaps, but you can say it artistically, right? In sort of an indirect, roundabout way. What is the role? Like, obviously, Bitcoin is this huge affront to all centralized power structures, maybe the biggest affront there's ever been, right? It's like, it obliterates the centralization of money, which is crazy to think about. What is the role of art in furthering and amplifying the Bitcoin message and ethos?
Where I would take that conversation is I'd take it right to the memes. Because I'm telling you right now, memes are a powerful expression.
It's a new language.
It is. Yeah. And if art is a language, memes are a language too. Mm-hmm. And I'd have to say that some of the best fortitude that's ever been infused in me has come from great memes. And what's so terrific about a meme is I find that I think of them as an art form, good ones, and I think of them as having some inherent truth that I suspect is true, but amplifies the veracity. So I look at it and go, oh, I was right about that, and this is why. And it doesn't mean if it's Lynn Alden's "Nothing Stops This Train." I've got my own meme, by the way. It's "Nothing Stops This Plane," and what it means is basically, a lot of people don't realize this, but when you're on the carrier and you get ready to launch, you salute. You salute the shooter, the guy sitting there, and he does that move, and he gets down, puts his hand down. Nothing's going to stop anything that's going to happen next. Okay, you might as well just put your head back, relax. Understand what you hold if it's Bitcoin, and understand that you're not going to stop this train, and nothing is. You will go off. You can stick your feet on the brakes of that jet, and if you're going to be shot off at 145 miles an hour, you know what? You can put full brakes on, and you're going to go off at 145 miles an hour with flat tires, because nothing is going to stop it. And when you see some of these, I call them artists, like. There's a particular artist I really like, does memes, Roman Martinez, and there's so many of them. They're just great, and I think I think it's an art form, and I think it does speak to power. It speaks to a thought, an idea.
Yeah, you know what's amazing about the new language that is memes is that they can take all of this emotional salience we have with some, like a film, right? Like a scene in a film, which is often what these memes are, right? It'll be a clip of a scene in a film. And then you overlay some other text on it, right? That's relevant to the message you're trying to, and then you kind of piggyback on the emotional salience of that scene in the film. Like people have seen that movie and they felt a certain way, but then you piggyback your message on top of it. So it like causes it to carry for, it's a very interesting, like artistic. It's an amalgam, right? You're combining these different artistic mediums and it causes it to go further and faster even. So I'm fascinated by that as like an emergent language.
And it is, like I said, it's both a form of protest, which art often is, but it's also a form of expression to just signify to others, you're not alone. We feel this. We see this same message, and it just reinforces itself.
Yeah. So there's another way, like if language is a messaging system that we use to connect our minds, this is another form of that, but it's a bit stronger on the emotional salient side rather than just like the pure rational informational side.
Probably true. I mean, it's probably applying more to emotions.
Yeah.
And again, just for me, tying it back into Bitcoin, Bitcoin's an emotional journey. We've already discussed that.
Yeah.
And the thing is that once you go down that rabbit hole, you don't stop. I mean, it's a rabbit hole. There's no end to the rabbit hole.
There's no exit either.
Exactly. I love that. You just get in it. And, you're in the rabbit hole. That's where you're going to spend the time.
Yeah.
And you might as well just enjoy it down there. And you might as well just, like I said, study your ass off, never stop. And, it will keep you young and active. There's no end to what you can learn about. I've been studying strategy, just came up with a new convertible bond yesterday. So I've been studying that, looking at the market, how it fits in, what their game plan is, their goal in the future, and which I actually think I've known for some time, and which is a fascinating story too. We're going to see, this is the most amazing year. I don't know if you're paying attention. I don't know how people can sleep at night right now because there's so many exciting things coming down the road, and they've already happened, and since the election, I'd have to say I've totally revamped my thought of the future as far as where things are going, and it's going to be a fascinating journey. This next year, we're going to see one of the major things that's going to come down the road is SOB 122, which repealed the former law. Banking is going to come in here massively. I mean, we are going to see so many entrants, and that's going to bring a whole new set of problems and things that people are going to have to address. But it's coming.
Yeah, no, it is. For me, it feels like for some reason, not that exciting, actually.
Really?
No, because we've been saying this is going to happen for years. Like it's been 9 years almost at this point. And Bitcoiners have been saying this is the path that's going to follow, right? Like you will see mainstream adoption. You'll see more traditional finance integrating into Bitcoin, it causing legalized reforms, all these things. Like we've just been, so now that I see it happening, I'm just like, yeah, that's what's supposed to happen. Like
I've heard that from other Bitcoiners too. I've heard some people talking lately that when we crossed 100,000, it basically was like a non-event for them because, and another time where I was wrong is I did think the last cycle that we'd see 100,000.
Oh yeah.
I'm pretty sure though that both the mining ban, the GBTC premium turning to negative, and the fact that I was not aware of how widespread choke point 2.0 was.
Right.
I think that shut that rally down pretty early. But I mean, just think about where we're sitting at now, Robert. I mean, in my mind, the stars are aligning for an incredible bull run. Even what we're seeing right now in price action, I just think this is such a bullish period. These sideways periods where we're building are so important to a long-term bull run. From 73,000 up to 100,000, we sold. Long-term holders were selling coins into the market every day. 40,000 coins a day at one time, over 1 million in that period. Now it's down to maybe 10,000, I think, long-term holders selling every day. that is so important because we are transferring that wealth into a new generation that's going to be here for this next bull run.
Yeah.
As long as we sit down in here, and I just looked at charts yesterday to review the charts that I follow. There's 3 in particular I follow, and you know what? The market looks so healthy to me. I'm not saying it couldn't drop down to 73,000, but what I'm saying is the market itself looks very healthy, and I think this is going to be a groundbreaking year for what's coming.